Hey guys, Colin here from CH Gadgets, and this is the OnePlus 9 Pro. And at the time of doing this video, it is currently the latest and the greatest that OnePlus has to offer. And on average, OnePlus has always made some really solid smartphones. Now granted, some are better than some, but overall they make some really solid stuff. But now, to OnePlus credit, this is the very first time that their newest lineup could be something really groundbreaking for the company. Or depending on who you ask, it could just be straight up whack. But regardless of what anyone else thinks, I have a few thoughts that I want to explore inside this video, where I might just go ahead and break down step by step a few of the things that I've noticed while using the OnePlus 9 Pro, a few of which you probably already know, and some you probably didn't even think about. Okay, so let's kick this thing off with one of the first things that you're gonna notice when you pick this phone up in your hand, and that is how beautiful the design is. I don't know about you, but I'm really feeling it, and I think they did a good job with this one. You're probably gonna be holding it in your hands while saying to yourself, wow, this thing looks so nice, and it feels so premium too. This is a really dope smartphone, way before you even power it on. The build and material choices are really high quality. Look, there's nothing groundbreaking about an aluminum frame wrapped in Gorilla Glass, but it's done really well here. I typically go for matte and satin texture type finishes on my smartphones, but I have to say, I'm really liking this morning mist, gradient, frosty look. But if I were you, I would definitely get that pine green colorway or that matte black finish. It just looks so much cooler and is way less fingerprinty. Yes, I said it, fingerprinty. I'm also a really big fan of how this phone feels in the hand. Everything feels like it's ergonomically placed for comfort and grip. Well, everything except for a few little quirks that I'm going to be talking about in more detail later. But as far as the camera placement, the button layout, support, and the weight distribution, everything seems well proportioned and well balanced in the hand. Alright, so here's the thing about this Quad HD Plus 6.7-inch AMOLED display. It has an insane pixel density of 525 pixels per inch. But wait, it gets even better. It also supports sRGB P3 color gamut with a 10-bit color depth, and this is also capable of displaying 1 billion colors on this little display with a peak brightness of 1300 nits. And if that wasn't enough, you still get 120 Hz refresh rate. Plus, you can watch all your HDR10 Plus content on this display with some amazing viewing angles. If you go back to my S21 Ultra review on this channel, I said the S21 Ultra had the best-in-class display on the market. And that may be true back then, but now that the OnePlus 9 is out on the market, I'm not sure if that statement still holds true. But I'm definitely gonna have to do some tests just to see if we have a new king on our hands. I absolutely love watching videos on this display because it is so bright and rich and vivid. Plus that 120 Hz refresh rate makes it a treat when you're scrolling through Instagram feeds and double tapping on those beautiful photos. This display is an absolute eye candy, and it makes it almost impossible to go back to anything less once you've experienced this level of quality. Okay, if you remember earlier, I was talking about how everything was ergonomically placed, except for a few little quirks. Well, this in-display fingerprint sensor is one of those little quirks, and that is because it is set so low on the phone display. When I first took it out of the box, I had to practice a little finger gymnastics in order to get my thumb in place while I was holding it securely in my palm. Now, I guess it depends on the size of your hands and how you hold your phone, but I just feel myself naturally reaching over just a little bit higher based on how I hold my phone in the palm of my hand. However, you may have a different experience since we all don't hold our phones in the same way. Is it a deal breaker? Nope, because I got used to it after a day or so and never had an issue after that. But I just thought it was worth mentioning since it possibly could help you with your purchase decision. Nevertheless, the fingerprint sensor is really fast, accurate, and almost never miss whenever I unlock my phone. The model that I have here is powered by the Snapdragon 888 5G 5nm chipset with the Adreno 660 along with 12 gigs of UFS 3.1 RAM. What else can I say? This is a purebred flagship smartphone through and through, using a flagship chipset with some of the fastest smartphone memory known to man. So when it comes to speed, it's lightning fast. In smoothness, it's like butter. And I wouldn't expect any anything less, since all my previous OnePlus smartphones have all been super fast and smooth with an above average refresh rate and touch sampling rate, which usually creates the ultimate user experience in my opinion. And that is why, while I was testing it, I tried my best to push it beyond its limits by playing some of the most resource intensive games that I know, and it still managed to pull through relative ease. Of course, it did get really hot during some of the tests, which is what I expected after pushing it so hard, and it's typical for a smartphone with a flagship chipset running like this. I am definitely liking this version of OxygenOS on top of the Android experience. The current version at the time of shooting this video is 11.2.8.8 with the July patch, and because of all the cool customization and additional features, OxygenOS is quickly becoming one of my favorite Android skins next to my Google experience. So here's the thing. Over the years, OnePlus have made some really good smartphones with a generally good camera system. Some people may say it's average, and other folks may call it basic. But I would say it wasn't always great, but it wasn't really bad either. But I think this year, OnePlus have actually outdid themselves with this Hasselblad collaboration. Not to be disingenuous though, the OnePlus 8 Pro was a doozy. But that's for a totally different video. In this video, I'm going to keep the focus on the OnePlus 9 series and these Hasselblad cameras. So here's the lineup before I break down my experience and what I think. In the 9 Pro, there is the Sony IMX789 Exmor RS CMOS backside illuminated 48 megapixel sensor paired with a f1.8 23mm equivalent wide-angle lens that uses phase detection autofocus, laser autofocus, as well as optical image stabilization. There's also a 8 megapixel f2.4 77mm telephoto lens with phase detection autofocus as well as optical image stabilization that gives you about a 3.3 optical zoom. They've also gone ahead and stepped up their game and added a 50 megapixel Sony IMX CMOS backside illuminated sensor that has a sensor size of 1/1.56, which I think means that this is actually significantly larger than the main sensor in the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and a little bit larger than the one in the Samsung Galaxy S21 Plus. However, in the 9 Pro, it is being paired with a f2.2 14mm ultra-wide lens, which is capable of doing some spectacular photos. There was also a 2 megapixel monochrome sensor for when you want to get some of those stylistic monochrome photography. And this is the current lineup with some of that Hasselblad magic inside, which is their proprietary image and color calibration know-how. By the way, you can also shoot 8K video at 30 frames per second, 4K at 30, 60, and 120 frames per second, 1080p at 30, 60, and 240 frames per second with auto HDR and electronic image stabilization. And finally, when you flip the phone around to the front, the selfie camera is a 16 megapixel f2.4 wide-angle lens that only shoots 1080p at 30 frames per second with electronic image stabilization. Alright, so here's the thing. Initially, out of the gate, the camera experience was a little bit iffy, especially with all the fanfare that preceded the 9 series launch. But now that we're a couple updates in, I have to say without a doubt that the cameras on the 9 Pro is OnePlus' best camera system to date, and also one of the best cameras on a smartphone right now. Is it top 3 level cameras? I'm not sure if I could call that, and we probably could go back and forth on that one. But when I compare the results with the S21 Ultra, the Pixel 5, and the P40 Pro, there is no denying that OnePlus camera game has leveled up way beyond what it was in previous years. Do you know what this means? This means that the camera quality and performance is no longer a barrier for entering the OnePlus ecosystem, since we already know from day one they were making some of the best-in-class smartphones. Now, to be totally honest, some of the designs were a little bit questionable, but overall, the hardware and software experience was solid in my opinion. These cameras can produce some really good quality photos. And like I said, after the latest updates, I've been really impressed with the result. The main camera can reduce some high levels of detail in certain scenes, especially with outdoor shots. And it does really well with indoor photos also. The photos are really sharp and vibrant and still maintain that natural realistic look and color tone. And I do get some reliable exposure preview on the viewfinder when shooting photos, which usually results in accurate target exposure. And the dynamic range is really good, especially while shooting videos. Plus the white balance was always on point in almost all shooting conditions. The autofocus while shooting video is really fast and accurate, almost right throughout the range, 1080, 4K, and 8K. And you get some really good video stabilization in 1080 and 4K. And a big plus for this one, you get to switch between the lenses while shooting video. So you can go up and down the range from wide to telephoto to ultra wide on the fly, except for when you shoot in 4K at 120 frames per second or 8K at 30. However, I did experience on a few occasions while shooting, the camera will underexpose some shots with limited dynamic range in some backlit scenes. But overall, you will get some really good results from the cameras. I don't think I would be wrong if I said that this is the best ultra wide on a smartphone right now. And you can take a look and judge for yourself, because the ultra wide photos from this phone is straight fire. There is nothing groundbreaking about a 3.3x telephoto camera, because while it can take some really good shots during the day, you may start to lose some of that detail in the 30x digital zoom, which is to be expected. So my advice would be not to go beyond the optical zoom range for best results. Overall, I think the camera system is really good and is miles beyond what it used to be. I think OnePlus made the right call by asking Hasselblad to help them calibrate their image sensors and color science. And this move has single-handedly put them in the top 5, but that's just my opinion. But let me know what you think down in the comment section. Other than those little quirks that I just mentioned, the cameras and this smartphone is just about what you would expect from a $1,000 phone. But on the flip side, the phone still has a few software bugs that need to be fixed, such as the one that affect the automatic brightness adjuster, where sometimes the phone screen will just dim down all the way until it's annoyingly dark. But when you check the brightness adjuster, it's still set at max brightness. And in order to fix it, I would have to slide the slider back down to dim and then slide it back up to the brightness that I want. I do hope they roll out a fix for this in a future update. And as for pricing, I think the 9 Pro is on discount right now for about $919, which means you get to save a couple bucks of the original launch price. The battery is good, but not the best, and you can definitely nuke the battery in a day if you're a power user. But the good thing is you do get a 65-watt warp charger in the box that can fill you up back from 0 to 100 in about 30 minutes. And if you primarily use wireless charging, then you can get the optional 50-watt wireless charger that can fill you up from 0 to 100 in about 45 minutes. The speakers can get really loud whenever you're watching content. It's not a stereo setup, just a dual speaker on both sides, but it sounds pretty good. Haptic feedback feels really good, and in my opinion, it's one of the best on the market right now. There is a lot to like about this phone, and I believe it's probably one of the best flagship 5G smartphones on the US market currently. The build quality is excellent, the phone is beautiful, the specs is among some of the best of any Android phone, and OnePlus has made the price really competitive and remove a lot of the barriers to entry. So I know you're watching this entire video waiting to hear the answer to the question, do I recommend this phone? And the answer is yes. If you're thinking about getting this smartphone, then it's a no-brainer. This is a solid device with solid performance and some solid cameras, and I don't think you could go wrong. If you want one for yourself, definitely check the link down in the description, and don't forget to smash the like button before you head out. And if you want to see what I'm up to on a daily basis, definitely come check me out on Instagram. I'll be hanging out. Come say what's up. All right, leave your comment. Let me know what you think about this OnePlus 9 Pro, the OnePlus 9, or this video down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Hey there, so I'm just popping in real quick to say, while I was finishing up this video, OnePlus dropped a brand new update, OxygenOS 11.2.9.9, which also brings along the September security patch, a few bug fixes, some stability improvements, and some optimization. There's also some new camera features added and some new updates, such as optimizing the HDR shooting, auto white balance, nightscape mode, and the low light dynamic range. And there's also a new feature, the Hasselblad expand mode, which shoots in a unique 65 by 21 aspect ratio, or you could just call it very, very wide mode. I'm definitely going to be covering it more in depth in my OnePlus 9 and 9 Pro full review. But until then, I'm going to show you a few samples so you can see what it looks like. I think it was important for me to drop this in the video to let you know that some of the stuff that I talked about previously in the video, now you got an update. So there you go. Some of them are fixed. Until my next video, I'm going to tell you which ones were really fixed. But so far, I think they addressed most of the ones that I was talking about in the video. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I thank you. I don't know, man. I'm really indebted to you for clicking the like button, leaving a comment, and just taking the time out of your day to watch this video. I appreciate you. Until my next video, it's your boy. Check me out. Catch me on the flip side. I'm going to talk to you in my next video. Peace.